Hello and welcome to episode 18 of Can We Still Be Friends, a podcast that tests the limits of the friendship between two people who mistake movie taste for personal morality. I'm Nate Goss, here with Ryan Ebling. With Christmas approaching, a listener recently suggested that we watch A Christmas Story, one of the most beloved Christmas movies. So beloved, in fact, that it is shown for 24 hours straight every year. It also happens to be a movie that Ryan and I disagree on the most. Watching A Christmas Story takes us back to one of our earliest movie disagreements.
Now, A Christmas Story did fairly well at the box office, earning over $20 million during its run in 1983, and critics also liked it for the most part. But the movie's true legacy is in its position as a cult classic and a must-see Christmas movie for so many people over the last 30 years. Amidst all the fervent adulation, though, there are some among us who don't love the movie so much. Nate and I are ready to have a good old holiday time argument. The kind that leaves uncles and nephews estranged for 2 years and sends parents to bed shaking their heads at where they went wrong with their lunatic children.
Is A Christmas Story the wonder that many people believe it to be, including carbine action with a compass in the stock to boot?
Or has all the love, anticipation, and tradition masked the fact that this so-called work of art is actually a cheap plastic leg lamp that has outworn its welcome? Keep listening.
Without conscious will, my voice squeaked out,
Football. Okay, get him out of here.
"A football? Oh, no!
Okay,
What was I
Jerry.
doing? Wake up, stupid! Wake up! No!"
No, I want an officer red undercover knife to 200 with my leg rifle.
You'll shoot your eye out, kid. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
And that right there is essentially the entire plot summary of A Christmas Story. Ralphie wanting that Red Ryder air rifle and a whole slew of people telling him probably what he needs to hear, that he's going to shoot his eye out.
Yeah.
So anyways, as we talked about in our introduction, this is our holiday spectacular Can We Still Be Friends episode. We're going to be discussing a thorn that's been in both of our sides for a very long time, and that is 1983's cult classic, A Christmas Story.
Yeah, when Nate and I first became friends and first realized that we disagreed on some things, this was one of those movies that really could have sent us both packing.
Yeah.
Never to talk to each other again.
It made the title of this podcast a genuine question.
It
like,
did.
Can we still be friends after these conversations about A Christmas Story?
If we had become friends earlier in life, it honestly may have done our friendship in. So, before we get into the battle, let's talk about our memories of this movie.
Yeah. What was the background that caused us to both go to two totally polar opposite ends on this movie, I guess? So did you want to go first on that?
Sure, I
or-
can. Now, I feel like the fact that I didn't see this movie until early high school is going to make a bunch of listeners go like, whoa, that's the problem. I didn't grow up with this movie.
Okay.
I watched it, like I said, in high school for the first time and did not like it. And I'll go into more of why I didn't like it because
Before you answer that, though, why did it take you so long?
I don't know why my family, it was just not a movie we watched.
Okay.
My parents weren't big movie people. So the idea of like every Christmas we're going to watch a certain movie or that watching Christmas movies is a ramp up to Christmas, that's not part of my childhood.
Were there any Christmas movies that you did watch as a kid regularly every year?
Every year, I think my
TV specials even? Like, did you watch the Charlie Brown Christmas special?
Yeah, we watched.
The-
We would catch that.
we
didn't
Rudolph,
make a priority.
No, okay.
I remember like the Garfield Christmas one being on a lot. But no, not even the claymation ones, really.
Yeah.
And so, even like I said, watching Christmas movies in anticipation, I think Muppet Christmas Carol was one that I liked a lot as a kid, and I would watch it. I think I watched it by myself mostly, though. Like, I really wanted it from the library. We got it from the library. My parents just didn't.
Well, and
really
it
sit
also
down and watch
came out
movies.
when we were that age, that we were children when that came out.
Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas A Christmas Story came out in 83. That's the year I was born.
Yeah.
And you were born.
84. But I watched it expecting really to like it because everybody did. And I not only didn't like the movie, I hated it. Like I couldn't stand it. And like I said, we'll talk more about that later. And I swore there was something wrong with me because everybody loved it. And I watched it again. I've seen it probably 5 or 6 times since then. And it just hasn't.
But when you say
better
hate,
for me.
when you say hate, that makes it sound like something rubbed you the wrong way.
Oh,
like
it absolutely does.
What was
yeah.
it that actually made you dislike it, as opposed to just saying, "Well, it just wasn't funny," or "It just wasn't for me"? I guess.
It just makes me sick. Like the embarrassment. The movie is wall to wall embarrassment. Like every character gets embarrassed, and the fact that like so much of the movie is children crying or screaming in pain, I hate it. Even in high school.
We will have to get into that for sure. But
we absolutely will.
This was your initial reaction.
That was my initial reaction, and I mean, I guess
you would call it
tip my hand. It remains my reaction.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll get into that later. I guess I should probably talk about my experience.
Yes.
And here I was, thinking I was going to make you write a theme about why you were wrong about A Christmas Story and why you love it now. But okay, let me talk about my experience with it. I did see it, quite a few years before high school, so I had it growing up. I think I saw it right when I was like Ralphie's age. I think I was like 9 or 10 years old. I do remember the first time I saw it. It was we had some friends over, and our parents were all going to be going out for the night. The friends we were with brought some movies to watch, and they said that they had just seen this movie and they thought it was really funny. And I didn't want to watch it because I looked at the box and it looked like it just wasn't. I mean, it looked like it was maybe like it had kind of a Mad Magazine kind of cover to it. It was the cartoony sort of.
Oh, right.
It wasn't the box that I have now, which is the re-release
it was like
of the
Christmas
photo.
tree with the leg and like the family.
All the pieces of the movie
The
were just kind of on the zany sort of look, and I just didn't get it from the box, and so I was hesitant.
You were already sort of being a snob.
I was a
at 9 or 10.
skeptic going into this. I really was a skeptic going into this. So I was like, But I just remember they put it on, and this really, for me, it felt like a revelation when I watched it. It felt like a sense of humor that I had not seen before up until then, where the laughs were just about it being so close to my experience as a 9-year-old. Like I felt so much like Ralphie, and we can talk about later maybe why that is, like why I connected so much with that character. I just really, every little vignette that was in there I just thought was so funny, and I started watching it every year. And we didn't have cable television at all, so I didn't get to have that cable TV experience.
When did they start doing the 24-hour marathon?
It hasn't been that long.
No, I didn't think so.
But it's been shown on cable for years.
Yeah.
Like just not 24 hours. I guess I don't really know what else to say. And here's the thing is that then the next year we went to my cousin's house for Thanksgiving, and I remember saying like, I got the perfect movie for us to watch. And we went to the video store and we got it, and I sold them on it. So it was actually one of the first movie experiences I had of like being that sort of evangelist for a movie, like getting other people on board for a movie they'd never seen before, And I remember even at that age being like, this movie has been out for a while. Why are we just now hearing about it? Just thinking like this is just such the perfect Christmas movie. I can't believe it took me this long to see it. I loved everything about this, and I every year have loved everything about this movie. But maybe we should bring in a little bit of what our listeners had to say when we asked them to weigh in on this movie, A Christmas Story.
We should, and we should also say we aren't trying to make me the heel and the villain of this podcast by me not loving The Sandlot or A Christmas Story or Gladiator or whatever.
I had my, Scott Pilgrim was one that I didn't care for. The Avengers in our last episode.
Yeah. Well, my wife, when I told her what movie we were doing, she's like, so another one you don't like? And I was like, there's something Nate doesn't like. But I'm not just, I want people to know that I'm not just being contrary. One, I do have reasons for what I think. And two, I'm not alone. There are listeners who wrote in I'm
Not many.
I'm not in a big crowd, but I'm not alone.
That's right. You're certainly an outsider in this one.
Yeah.
Well, why don't you share one of someone who actually sort of saw it your way or was on your side in this one?
Okay.
The one or two per
One or
people.
two, yep. Well, there was one listener, Todd, who said, I believe, that every time he watches it, Ralphie gets more annoying.
Yeah.
But one of our listeners, Jason, said, this has been my constant issue with this film. It only survives through history by indoctrination. Something that I would tend to agree with. I didn't grow up where this was a Christmas tradition, so the quotes in the blind adoration fall very, very short. I've seen this movie in its entirety more than once, and what I've realized is it may touch a nostalgic chord for anyone who grew up in the era depicted in the film, but now it's been a hand-me-down nostalgia wrapped in a Christmas ritual. Far too many people love this in the same way they love other movies I will never, quote, get.
Do not agree, but we'll get
You
into
don't
that.
agree? Okay.
I do not agree at all.
Well.
with that. Thank you, Jason, for writing in.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this podcast is for for you to definitely throw some gasoline on that fire. But on the other hand, we had a lot of people that just had to write in with their adoration of this movie, talking about how there's nothing they don't love about the movie, and then they would go on to list off quotes from the movie that they love to bring up in everyday conversations.
Yeah, they sure do.
People saying like that, oh, thanks for reminding me I need to rewatch this movie. It just seems like it's one of those movies that for the people who love it, it's just got this, it hits them where they have a warmness towards it.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, one of our listeners, wrote in, I think what I respect most about this movie, I love it for its eccentric humor, is that I feel like I'm watching something completely unique. Its style, its setting, its art direction and costuming. I can't think of another movie that has anything close to the same feel. And I can't think of another movie that captures the era and culture so well. Most movies try to polish it up in some way, add more color to it, but with A Christmas Story, I can smell the dry air of those old radiator-heated homes. I can taste the overwhelming starch of the mashed potatoes. I can feel the weariness in Ralphie as he trudges through a packed mall. It rings true in a way that no other movie depicting the 1940s of the Midwest does. And I feel like Matt is really summing up part of why I really love this movie is just its setting and its feeling of the place it puts you in when you watch it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and our listener Andrew agreed with you, Nate. He urged you also to try to work quotes naturally into conversation.
I'll do what I can,
urge
Andrew.
you not
I
to.
will do what I can. I have a responsibility to our listeners to give them what they want.
He said, but seriously, because he was joking about that, is what he's saying there. This movie gets what it feels like to be a kid around Christmas. It captures the frustrations of parents at Christmas. The characters are so relatable, though trumped up in places, that your connection to them roots it deep down inside.
Before we move on to our revisiting of the movie, I just wanted to say that according to Joe M., Ryan, you have once again landed yourself on his naughty list.
I know.
And I did think it was an interesting trend I saw where a lot of our listeners were comparing this to the way we felt about The Sandlot, because they felt maybe that a lot of the things that I love and that you originally disliked about that movie, that those same types of themes and those same types of things might creep into this conversation as well. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens.
I don't know if this will earn me any points, but I think The Sandlot's a better movie than Christmas Story.
Not with me, you don't.
With you, Joe?
He said we should be expecting a phone call from him, so I really do look forward to that, Joe. Please send in that call when you get the chance.
Yeah.
And I will really quickly just run down. We had a poll on our website. We had a list of Christmas movies, and we just asked which of these is your favorite Christmas movie. The idea for me was to try to get a reading on where our listeners stand, what movies they tend to revisit every year, what movies are the ones that sort of warm their hearts, I guess. And
did you honestly think anybody would say Jingle All the Way? Arnold Schwarzenegger had to make it.
Well, I mean, what would be a later Christmas movie that you would have thrown on there?
Love Actually. Not for myself. Okay. Jeez. Not for myself, but I know a lot of people watch Love Actually every Christmas.
They do.
Jeez.
Yeah. I don't always think of that as like a complete holiday. Like it is a holiday movie.
It's a Christmas movie.
It's no Jingle All the Way.
I've never seen Jingle All the Way.
And by that I mean they're just very different movies.
Yeah.
So the movies that I put on there, and I know I don't have, this isn't an exhaustive list at all, but I have on there in alphabetical order, A Christmas Story, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Elf, Home Alone, It's a Wonderful Life, Jingle All the Way, Miracle on 34th Street, and The Muppet Christmas Carol. So before I go down the results of this poll, I just kind of wanted to say that we had some technical issues with it, so it might not be the most exact statistically.
If you're like, hey, wait a minute, I did vote for Jingle All the Way. We're sorry that your vote didn't get counted, but we had to reset it. So
yeah, it might have been the fact that Jingle All the Way was on there that caused some kind of bug in the poll.
Mm-hmm. The poll itself was like, wait a minute, Jingle All the Way, but not Love Actually.
Yeah. So 3 of these movies we actually didn't get any votes for, one of which is our episode Christmas Story. Nobody voted for A Christmas Story.
Funny.
Nobody also voted for what would probably be considered the quintessential Christmas movie, It's a Wonderful Life.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, no votes for Jingle All the Way. Where's Arnold when you need him? Come in and vote for his own movie. We had tied for our, actually a 3-way tie for Christmas Vacation, Elf, and Miracle on 34th Street. I'm kind of surprised that Christmas Vacation wasn't a little bit higher in that, just because that's what I hear. It's another movie I hear people quote all the time.
Yeah.
And maybe Elf too. I don't know.
Yeah, that surprises me. I know a lot of people love that movie,
and
really
I don't. That one I don't really care for all that much.
I think it's funny for like 20 minutes, and then it just sort of okay.
So that was the 3-way tie, and then we had basically it was between Home Alone and Muppet Christmas Carol.
Yeah,
and Muppet.
But
Christmas
my boy took it home.
I think it definitely shows our listeners, our listener base, because I don't think this is always necessarily considered maybe even top 10. If you had like the big,
if some governing body of film was making a list, it wouldn't be in the top 10. Well, I wouldn't trust that governing body,
No,
Nate.
and why would we?
I believe that a governing body just did make a top 10 list.
And our constituents have spoken, and they love the Muppet Christmas Carol. And actually, that is what I voted for. It is a lovely movie, although after rewatching A Christmas Story, I kind of wanted to change my vote to A Christmas Story. But that's not the way democracy works, you know?
Nope.
There's always next year.
Higby's corner window was traditionally a high water mark of the pre-Christmas season. First-nighters, packed earmuff to earmuff, jostled in wonderment before a golden, tinkling display of mechanized, electronic joy.
Then let's talk about our viewing of it this time. Because based on what you just said, saying that it feels like Christmas Story would unseat Muppet Christmas Carol for you, it sounds like your position was galvanized. And I know, based on how I felt after watching it, my position certainly was galvanized.
Did you like it even less now than you did before?
It is not all that possible for me to like it less than I did before. I was trying. I knew I wouldn't like it. Like, I just know I wouldn't. So I was trying to see.
But how did you know that? That's what I want to know. Because you saw kids crying? Like, because...
Oh, jeez.
No, I mean, but like, in the beginning, you said, I asked you why you didn't like it, and you said because you felt like it was embarrassing for every character, that every character is tortured kind of throughout the movie.
And that didn't change. I feel physically sick when I watch this movie. I cannot stand to see the people in this movie suffer. Like, and they do. I
you
can't
think you are the only person I've ever heard say this about this movie.
That's not true.
I
mean, okay, maybe it's the only person you've ever heard, but
it is.
I am not the only person I've ever heard. I know other people who've said this. I feel like, and I can't be alone in this, but I feel like I have flashbacks to childhood embarrassments and trauma daily, and I can't get over it for some dumb reason. Mm-hmm. Maybe I need some therapy or something. But this movie just brings up every disappointment, every embarrassment, every quashed anticipation that I felt as a kid. It takes everything bad about being a kid at Christmas and puts it on screen for me. I do not see what's funny about most of the things in the movie. Like, it just seems so cruel to me.
Oh my gosh. It's just, to me, what's funny is how relatable it is. I mean, I'm not going to deny you that um, a lot of what you see in this movie is it's kids or even adults or whoever. It doesn't pull any punches as far as just what it's like to be
It does also
disappointed in
doesn't
life,
offer
you
any
know?
relief.
It certainly offers relief.
Where?
Oh my gosh. There were 3 moments in this movie where I kind of had to kind of hold back tears of warmth. I'm not kidding. When I watched this, like I actually just kind of felt so much joy in the section. I'll tell you exactly when they were. It's only because it goes to those depths of reality in embarrassment and in disappointment that then you get the payoff, which I'll give you some specific examples. When Scud Farkus and Ralphie finally get into a fight, and the mom comes and it's kind of like pulling him back and just saying, Ralphie, like immediately Ralphie realizes that he did something that he might regret later, that he shouldn't have done, that he let his emotions get the best of him. And he starts crying just like a boy that age would cry. It was so real. And then you get what's just played beautifully by the mother is the way she handles the discipline of that. You saw before that the way that they can go hard on this kid when they need to, when he says fudge, and he says the word. It's like they make him, eat his soap, and it's hard punishment.
Yeah.
And so you're expecting that in this, but you realize that the mom is a loving enough mom to know that this kid learned his lesson just by living through it. We don't need to drive this into the ground. The dad does not need to know to the extent what happened. It's a very touching scene. The same thing happens later in the movie when the payoff in the movie, he does get his air rifle,
Yeah. And he does shoot himself in the eye.
And he does shoot himself in the eye, but it is such a loving scene when you see the father in such a he's got so much joy when he's telling Ralphie how to use the gun. Like,
Oh, it was beautiful. I could hardly wait to try it out.
Do you know how to load it?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's right. Be careful. They run all over.
And yes, Ralphie does go and shoot his eye out. Kind of the funny part to me is that the whole time he's been warned against this, and he's like, "Oh, come on, that's such a silly reason for me not to get it." And then it actually happens, and he does what every boy would do in that instance. He doesn't fess up to it. He makes up some crazy lie about an icicle falling and hitting him in the eye.
Right.
But the movie ends with him sleeping with his gun. Like I don't know. It's just I don't know what you're seeing that I'm not. Like I see so many moments in this movie that are so warm and so tender. And the only reason those moments work is because of the reality that you see depicted in all the other scenes. And, Gene Shepard with his narration and in just the stories that he's telling, he's pulling things that just, they feel so real. And they feel, even though they're stuck in that time period, they seem like they could be transplanted onto any 9-year-old boy in any generation. And it's just that relatability then makes those touching moments so much more touching to me.
I will grant you that. I was going to say that I tried to watch this with a more generous eye and did see things that I thought were positives for the movie, but they can't outweigh the way it makes me feel. And I did remember and notice that scene with the mother after the fight. And this time around, I definitely enjoyed and appreciated and was grateful for the character of the father, that he is a good dad. Like the performances by Melinda Dillon and Darren McGavin are very good. He plays the father in such a way that I don't think necessarily a lot of people would have, where he's not flipping back and forth between angry dad and good dad. Like he's one and the same the whole time. Whenever he's angry, he loves him. Whenever he's loving, there's an edge to him. And it's he's very good at that. And it's
he's the old
rich,
man. And
he's
it's
a very rich character.
Yes.
I did definitely notice that. And I also think that one of the reasons this movie gets to me and just kills me is the performances of the children, because the kids are very real.
They're very good.
To the point that I'm like concerned that they were actually like ruining these children's lives with the way that they were like making them the way that they could cry and the way that they could like yell in anguish was so realistic.
Say, Uncle! Uncle!
I can't enjoy it, and I can't think it's funny when I'm watching it.
Oh my! But here's the thing: I know that you love Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah.
How is this any different? How is this any different than the Wonder Years? I mean, how is this any different than any
never
other
seen the Wonder Years.
coming of age story, television show, book, whatever that just gets at the reality of being that age? I mean, and it's played for laughs. I mean, so much of Freaks and Geeks is awkward, terrible, embarrassing high school scenarios.
Yeah.
And it's the reason it works is in fact, I think A Christmas Story is a real trendsetter for what we consider to be funny now. Like even a lot of what you see in Wes Anderson's movies, like it's about getting to know these characters on an extremely deep level that resonates with you deeply.
I don't feel like I got to know the characters on an extremely deep level. I feel like Freaks and Geeks, because we had so many episodes, like, I mean, granted, not as many as we would all probably like, but Freaks and Geeks builds it, I think. And the thing is, Freaks and Geeks never asks us, I mean, sometimes it does, but when it really is like a hard-hitting thing, like the Halloween episode where the mom is just crushed, we're not asked to laugh at her for that.
And I don't think you're asked to laugh at any of these kids.
No?
When they're going through
when he
like
gets his tongue stuck to the pole, that's not supposed to be funny.
I don't think
when he's punching Scott Farkas in the face, that's not supposed to be funny.
No, not in the way that you're thinking.
Wait, I don't think it's funny in any way.
The thing that you're laughing at with when he gets his tongue stuck to the flagpole, that to me, the funny part in that is what happens afterwards when you realize that those kids are acting just like, and like what Gene Shepard says, you know, the teacher's trying to lay on the guilt, and all these kids know it's just better not to get caught, you know? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you just have to take away so much comedy if you're never willing to laugh at anybody in pain. I mean, that's just what comedy is. I'm sorry. Like, but what makes it usually funny when someone's in pain is that the fact that you can relate to them. And that it's a way, it's almost like catharsis, like you're watching someone go through something that you've been through before. And it's a way of, maybe it is a way of doing therapy. It's a way of saying, hey, this is the human condition. This is the way things have always been. We've all been there. We know what it's like. Can't we at least just laugh at it a little bit? I mean, I don't think it's done in a mean-spirited way.
Maybe it says more about what kind of kid I was, that I don't identify with the kids that are getting away with it. I'm identifying with the kid that's in pain.
That's in pain. I mean, I was bullied when I was a kid, and no matter where you come from, if you were the bully or you were the bullied, you can relate with somebody. In the scenes with Scud Farkas, you can relate with the kids because you know what it was like to, you know, have this kid that just would not leave you alone. And then with the flagpole scene, you know what it's like to be the kid who, you know, put someone up to something, got them in trouble, and it was better just to say, hey, I'm out of here. You know, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I have nothing to do with this, you know?
I don't know what I'm not going to say I have a problem, but I don't know what it is with me that I see them, you know, like you said, playing dumb in the classroom and acting like they don't know what's going on, and I'm just like, those little shits need to get caught. Like they can't get away with this. I've got like this. I'm way too empathetic to enjoy this movie, and I like. It just feels like they put everybody through so much, even down to the fact that when he gets inside from the dogs, a dog's ear has to get shut in the door. Like the dogs can't even get away without feeling pain in this movie.
Yeah. And maybe my life just is more like theirs was, to where it just felt so real to me that I just I just loved it. I mean, I had a younger brother that was about the same age difference. I was the older, and the way that they show the interaction between them, where by and large they just kind of are irritated by each other and don't like each other, but there's a sense of obligation and duty that Ralphie has that just comes out. Like no one has to tell him when his brother gets pushed down and can't get up. He's annoyed, yes, but no one has to tell him to go pick up his brother. He just goes and does it. When they're in the mall, no one really tells him he has to watch out for his brother, but he holds his hand. And I mean, it was so real. But yet there's the scenes where like they're just saying like, come on down, dinner's ready, and they have to just slap each other by the dresser beforehand just because they want to get in there first. Like, that's just so real. It's so funny. That is what's so funny to me. My mom was just like the Melinda Dillon character, the housewife, and she was so loving and so warm. And she just knew her children, you know, and the old man was just like my old man. I mean, he was, there were little quirks in there that I think made almost the movie feel edgy when you were 9 years old watching it, because you felt like this was finally, and I'll say this is what makes this movie slightly better than The Sandlot, is because it's a movie about kids this age that actually gets it a little bit more right than The Sandlot does. I mean, these are kids that say smartass, you know?
Yeah.
And one thing that Gene Shepard got totally right is that feeling of when you're not around your parents, you swear all the time. Even though, and you would never get caught dead swearing in front of your parents, even though your dad says it all the time.
Funny,
Like,
I never did.
All right, maybe.
Truth be told, like
I mean,
movie,
is this really
I
just
am not this kid.
Is this just really coming down to your childhood was just nothing like this, so you
I
can't
don't
relate, and so you
know.
can't find it funny? I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I feel like when I talk to people,
It also doesn't draw me in because it's not like I only watch things that are about people like me. I watch things like I watch all sorts of things and enjoy them and find them
no,
funny.
but some things don't rely on it as much as this does. This will rely on that, I think. If you
to
can't,
its credit,
yes, to this credit. I mean, when something gets it so right, I mean, there's no movie that can be universally beloved by absolutely everybody.
well, yeah. But the divide I feel is just baffling. I feel so far away from enjoyment of this movie that it's so crazy to me that so many people like it that much.
And I can't tell you how many times I was like laughing out loud. And I've seen this so many times. I just fell in love with the movie all over again. It is very close to me, a perfect movie. It's so funny to me. It's so heartwarming. It gets Christmas right. It even gets it down to the point where like, and I was reading an article, I don't remember if it was AV Club and Dissolve both have articles about why this movie is such a beloved Christmas, you know, classic at this point. You know, they were kind of asking the question, like, why does he focus so much on this particular Christmas? And they were posing the idea that it was probably because this is that Christmas that I think every kid goes through, where it's the first one that they realize some of the realities about Christmas, whatever those might be. It's like the last great Christmas you can have, and that magic is kind of starting to wane a little bit.
Yeah.
This is the Christmas. It's the Christmas that you will always remember. And I don't know if you have that, but I certainly do. And I think I was about the exact same age where that was the Christmas I remember. And it just kind of, it just makes me happy about the season again to just remember. And it's something that as a father, like I'm excited for my boys to start getting so excited about Christmas. And I want to give them that one Christmas, the one that they always remember. This movie is really, it's kind of about Ralphie's best Christmas, the one that he remembers the most for so many reasons. And it's not just about the fact that he wanted this one thing and he got it. It's also just about everything else that happened in that season.
I'm doing some serious thinking and like processing right now because I'm a huge proponent of entertainment for kids that like causes them to engage with some of the more difficult aspects of life. Like that's one of the things I love about Pixar movies is that they don't shy away from characters dying or, you know, and Up with the disillusion of their relationship, and Toy Story 3 with Andy growing up and moving on and things like that. Like I think it's good for kids to deal with those things. And I guess the thing that this movie doesn't do for me is that it's not, I don't feel like it's contextualizing or doing anything necessarily positive with those negative feelings other than saying like everybody goes through them. And then you've got the couple uplifts of the parents handling things, you know, like the mom protecting him and the dad being a genuinely like excited gift giver and that sort of thing. And what I've been focusing on is the pain in the movie, which I still don't think I can get over, even if I watch it again. But what you're saying is causing me to look at it a little bit differently. The movie is sort of prepping Ralphie and his brother and his friends and all those kids for the pain and the disappointment that's going to come later, but that it is depicting them and allowing them to enjoy it in this moment. And maybe it's the last Christmas they have where they're like, everything's great and they get what they want. And because now as an adult, people say, "What do you want for Christmas?" And you're like, "Oh gosh, I don't know." Like,
it's hard to come up with something.
If I wanted it, I'd buy it, and if I can't afford it, you're not going to get it for me.
Yeah.
And that kind of sucks that's what the gift giving has become.
Mm-hmm.
That it's just like, all right, well, what do you want? and not that I don't enjoy getting things for people,
right.
but like the pressure is so great to like get, and then the more your family expands, the more gifts you buy. And it's not that I don't enjoy it or anything, but like that the magic is gone. And so maybe I am missing the point of what the movie is doing.
Well, and I think actually what you're saying sparked me to bring up something that I noticed this time around is this movie is a completely secularized version of Christmas. Like there is no allusion to what Christmas is supposed to be about. Not even about religion, but there's not even really any
spirit of Christmas.
Spirit of Christmas, sentimentality, anything like that. It does not appeal to that at all.
No.
It is a very dry look at American consumerist Christmas time. Yeah. But I think what you were just saying about what Christmas, what it grows into for you as far as what the gift giving process is.
It made me think that that since Christmas becomes for adults a bit of a chore, the things that were so magical about childhood Christmas, the gifts, is becoming like the burden for adult Christmas. So for me, I don't need to see a movie that leans on that. I don't need to see a movie that shows the seed of that disappointment. So that's why a movie like Muppet Christmas Carol, which is so strange to me that those are your two that you were back and forth on, because they're
two different
completely
reasons.
opposite movies.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because the reason I love Muppet Christmas Carol is for one, I think it's funny, and Michael Caine is a really good Ebenezer Scrooge.
Oh yeah,
but the songs have some of like the best message of any children's movie. The song reminding you that you've got to have like a grateful heart, and the Bless Us All song where it's so level-headed, but it's not like it acknowledges those bad things. There's the line where Kermit sings like let us run from anger, and then Miss Piggy sings and catch us when we fall, which is poignant because she had just been raging against Ebenezer Scrooge, who hadn't been there. And Tiny Tim says, well, if he didn't pay Dad, basically, we wouldn't have what we have. So let's be thankful for Ebenezer Scrooge. Yeah. And it's like I just
it's a wonderful movie. We're not going to argue.
So what I know, I'm just saying,
Muppet Christmas Carol.
I'm not trying to say that because Muppet Christmas Carol is good, A Christmas Story is bad. But I'm saying what I dislike so much about Christmas Story is that it doesn't add anything necessarily positive to me, because I do disillusion and cynicism really well, and I don't and embarrassment and childhood trauma. I don't need somebody to remind me of it like bring me back into Christmas spirit. Like I need something that'll lift me up out of my general malaise.
Well, I will tell you this: I don't think this movie is the best movie to get you in the Christmas spirit, if the spirit you mean is sort of the Christmas spirit that we see in most movies, like It's a Wonderful Life, of just sort of a confirmation, a life-affirming kind of movie. But you see it in small doses, I think, in A Christmas Story. What I saw this time around is exactly what you're saying about how as you get older, that whole gift giving, a lot of what you see in the consumerist version of Christmas, and maybe a lot of people do see it as sort of a cynical movie because there's not a lot to that. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, there's not much more to the gift giving part of Christmas other than what you see on the surface, which is I like presents, give me a gift. But I think what this movie is saying is that even if you boil Christmas down to that nothingness, that emptiness of just giving gifts, there's a lot of cynicism in that, but let's remember there is an age where that's everything. Like there's a time when getting that perfect gift, and it's honest. That's an honest assessment, I think, of childhood. I remember getting that perfect gift for Christmas, and it's just a movie that's saying, okay, let other Christmas movies take care of the big ideas. This is just a movie about kids being kids during Christmas time. They're coming of age, and you get to a point where as you grow older, what you're seeing in this movie is not going to hit you the same way as an adult. You're not going to care about what Christmas gift you get every year. There's just that time when you're a kid when just getting the perfect gift means the world to you. And it's a very, very short scene, but this is another one where I'm sorry, I kind of choked up a little bit. It's just a little tiny scene at the very, very end when the snow's falling and the parents are just sitting there in the nighttime, and that's to them what Christmas has become, is this touching moment of saying, here, come sit next to me.
What I feel like in the movie contradicts that a little bit is the leg lamp. It, to me, feels very much like it's mocking the dad for having excitement over a thing.
Oh boy, oh boy, would you look at that? Would you look at that?
What is it?
Well, it's a leg.
But what is it?
Yeah, well, it's a leg, you know, like in a statue.
Statue?
Yeah, statue.
Yeah, statue.
Ralphie?
Like, that dude is seriously proud.
He is,
of that.
And you're proud for him.
No, you're not. You are not made to be proud. You are supposed to laugh at him for that. You're supposed to be with the mother, and Ralphie sides with the mother, and the mother ends up breaking it because she thinks it's ridiculous. I don't see him being allowed to be excited about that at all.
Really?
You think that movie invites us to share in his joy and not mock him for being excited about it.
I don't know if it's mocking him for being excited about that. I mean, I don't know. I think it's funny that he gets so excited about this lamp. It's because, and this is actually what I wrote in my notes, in whether you're talking about a BB gun or a leg lamp, it's not the thing that matters. It's what that thing represents. In this sense, it's not about the leg lamp even. It really isn't. It's about the dad feeling, you know, so proud that he won this major award, and you don't really even know why that is. It could be because it's one of his puzzles.
You really think the movie invites us to share in his pride?
I just think it's laughing at the situation. I don't know that
What
it's
about
laughing
the
at him.
situation? Is it laughing at?
Like
what
he's
is it
supposed to look
laughing
like
at if it's not at him?
You think it's that you're supposed to think he's a buffoon?
Yeah. What is it laughing at if it's not laughing at him? I feel like if he had been like, holy cow, yeah, this is crazy, this lamp, then like we're laughing with him in the situation. But he has no wavering in his excitement once he sees it. And he is so amped for it. And the mother is so judgmental of it. And the kids think it's so ugly. And
The kids love it. The kids love it.
But then he says, like, my mother stood between us, and then they ended up siding with her. Then the fact that she like breaks, I can't hang with that. I don't know. I don't see the movie being sympathetic towards the dad in that situation.
We're kind of looking into this a little bit too more. I think looking for sympathy or empathy for the dad in that situation, it's kind of missing the whole comedy in it. Like, I don't know. I think that's being ultra sensitive to think that you're laughing at that dad in that situation. That's wrong to laugh at that.
I may sound ultra sensitive, but I don't know what it is about this movie that just rubs me the wrong way, because I like The British Office. I like whatever. I mean, I don't like everything Ricky Gervais does, but he does that awkward humor.
Yeah,
that
so
cruel
why
humor.
is it that when he does something that makes him look like a buffoon, that's okay to laugh at, but it's not okay to laugh at this guy liking this prize that he got that's obviously a gaudy lamp?
The difference is that there is such a selfishness and such a lack of concern for other people in what they're doing, that you are watching almost like their hubris. It's like almost like Greek tragedy. That there's like,
okay, but then
you
why
are watching the effects of their negative personality, their selfishness, the things that they shouldn't be displaying. You are seeing the fallout of that, and that is funny. It's almost a comeuppance. There's nothing negative to the father's getting this lamp. He didn't do anything sneaky to do it. He didn't steal. He didn't like take extra. He didn't like take money from the family for anything. Like there's nothing wrong.
And as a
wrong
viewer,
with,
you're genuinely fine with him liking that lamp. As a viewer, even if your interpretation was that the movie wanted you to laugh at what an idiot who thinks this lamp is a good prize, even if you thought that's what the movie was trying to do, there are times in comedy where you just laugh at that kind of thing. That's just what you do all the time when you, I mean...
I don't know. Maybe I am overly sensitive, but the fact that I have felt it every time I've seen the movie, like I said, I've talked to other people who have felt this reaction.
So when you saw that scene of him getting the lamp, your immediate thought was like, oh, poor guy. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know. He was so happy to just get the lamp. I just feel like that's great for him. He got his lamp. I can't believe that is what makes. I just don't. There's no part of me that watches that movie and thinks that dad's an idiot by the end. I see him
I'm
as
seeing it in that scene, and that scene doesn't get redeemed or resolved. It just ends, and that's another problem I have with the movie. It's so episodic that it's just stop and start for me. The flashback sequences don't work for me. The fantasy sequences don't work for me.
Really?
Yeah.
The Black Bart and the soap poisoning sequence does nothing
Soap
for you.
poisoning sequence is fine.
And the Black Bart
I thought
does not make that and the fast frame rates and the little the
X's in the eyes.
X's on the eyes. It does nothing for you.
No, the soap poisoning scene. Yeah, that I found
The
amusing.
A+, it does nothing for you. Like, I love the fact that it's a scene where the kid thinks he wrote the perfect paper,
and then he gets a C or whatever.
and then he gets a C. And but I love that in his mind he's imagining it's such a great paper that the teacher's going to have no choice but to just keep to raise him up and to write A+ all around the room as the kids cheer him on for this amazing theme that he wrote. And he reads his theme, and it's so funny. Like, it's exactly what a 9-year-old would write and think is great.
What I want for Christmas. What I want for Christmas is a Red Ryder BB gun with a compass and a stock and this thing which tells time. Wow, that's great. I think that everybody should have a Red Ryder BB gun. They're very good for Christmas. I don't think that a football is a very good Christmas present.
Oh, rarely had the words poured from my penny pencil with such feverish fluidity.
Yep.
Not funny.
They were fine. They were fine. I'm sorry.
It at least gets the period right. Can you say that? Like,
and I was actually going to say when we read the comment about how like it does feel like almost like the ice storm. It feels like it was made in that time period. It's very lived in. I'm not saying it's not a well-made movie, like aside from the episodic nature of that's just Gene Shepard's writing. He writes short stories essentially. I genuinely I hope you saw me really thinking because I know.
Yes.
Because I'm a little bit perturbed by how much I hate this movie.
Yeah.
Because you're right. There are things like maybe it is bringing up unresolved childhood things that I don't know.
Well, and who knows? Maybe you're right in that it's mean spirited to laugh at some of the things that we laugh at. But in the movie, whether it's the father or Ralphie,
here's the thing.
When you laugh, you laugh. I don't know that you.
I
can
was a really sensitive kid. Like I remember there was a kid. He honestly kind of looked like Scud
Farkus.
Yeah. And he got made fun of all the time. And I didn't have the heart to like be his friend necessarily because he honestly was an off-putting kid. Like he was not fun to be around. I remember like a few times seeing, and I don't think my sister listens to these, but I'll still apologize to her anyway. My sister and her friends making fun of this kid, sometimes to his face, but oftentimes behind his back. And I remember just like not knowing what to do. Right. I was 9 or 10. I felt so awful for this kid. That's what is, that is what is touched in me in this movie. It is not any sort of fondness or any sort of nostalgia. It is just that sensitive kid in me who like hated seeing people get made fun of.
But let me speak to that because I feel the same way. Like I was the same way as a kid where I feel like maybe more than some kids, I just had a lot of empathy, but I was too chicken shit to do anything about it.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stood there and then went home and felt bad about it. And what I think this movie does that can be somewhat of a relief to see on screen is it shows you that a lot of kids are like that, and that's how they all act, and we all eventually grow up.
A lot of kids are like what?
Are like where they know what the right thing to do is. They know, how to feel for other people. There's the scene where Scud Farkus has got Schwartz and he's forcing him to say uncle. And what I thought was so accurate that you wouldn't see in The Sandlot, because in The Sandlot, you would have seen Benny come up and say, hey guys, knock it off. Or he's cool, let him be.
Yeah.
What you see in here, that's just almost too real. And that to me is what makes it so
What, where the
relatable.
kids just run
The
away?
kids just run away. They don't stand up for Schwartz. They don't say, "Hey, come on, knock it off." You know.
I guess for me, it's like,
and Ralphie,
we all know the world sucks that way. Why do we have to watch it?
we always do. That's what The Office does. That's what Freaks and Geeks does. It makes you watch the things, and it's not to rub it in your face. If all you get out of A Christmas Story is sort of this, this is how terrible life is, and watch it, then that's just what's going to happen. Is you're just going to watch it and be tortured by it. I don't get that at all. To me, I totally put myself exactly in those places, know exactly where I'm at, and as an adult, watch it and just laugh. I actually think that it's kind of nice that this is placed way back in pre-war, America, because it just shows that, like, it doesn't matter what generation you're in.
Well, I feel like my problems with the movie might be my problems with the movie. Even though I do think that the movie has flaws, I really can't get past my own hangups with it. So if you do like this movie, I guess I can't.
I will say it was a worthwhile exercise just to hear you out. And
good.
Though I don't see it that way,
No, and I was glad to hear your point of view too, because I could only see the pain in it. And yeah, you made some good points about it, and you did make me think about it. It hasn't changed the way it makes me feel.
Well, I don't think I can expect that at this point. But
I think you would need to go back and, I don't know, say something to 9-year-old Ryan Ebling.
Say, hey, lighten up a little bit.
Yeah, relax. It sucks for everybody, man.
Well, I hope I didn't ruin your Christmas.
No, because this movie's not a part of my Christmas. Oh. My Christmas is ruined. It's because I watched this movie at all.
Gosh. All right.
All right. So you. All right. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that.
Well, why don't we just why don't we consider this door shut for now?
Okay. Please.
That's the only way we're going to be able to stay friends.
We are still friends. Agree to disagree.
Yes. On this case, we're going to have to do this. Yeah.
So let's talk about what we're going to watch next time.
Okay.
This is another one that actually started with a listener suggestion.
Yep. Our listener Andrew suggested recently that we should take another look at P.T. Paul Thomas Anderson's 2002 Adam Sandler film, Punch Drunk Love.
I'm a big fan of that movie. I'm a big fan.
Yes.
P.T. Anderson is maybe my favorite director.
Both of our. He's one of our favorite directors, both of us. So.
But you have not seen this movie since it came out in theaters. No. And I think you need to watch it again.
Yeah, and it was my first P.T. Anderson movie, and so I didn't really get. I liked the movie,
sure,
but
that actually is a pretty shocking entry into P.T. Anderson's film universe,
which I'm sure we'll talk about in the episode.
Yeah, we will. But on top of Andrew's suggestion, P.T. Anderson has the movie Inherent Vice coming out.
Correct.
It's actually playing in a few theaters December 13th, but then it's going to open gradually, as P.T. Anderson movies frustratingly seem to, and I don't think it's going to get a wide release until January.
Yeah.
But that being said, I don't think we are going to be recording until January either. We're going to take a little bit of a break.
Yes, we're going to celebrate the holidays with our families, relax a little bit, and so we actually won't be coming back until probably next year. But that gives you, the listener, plenty of time to catch up with Punch Drunk Love, even Inherent Vice.
It's on Netflix, maybe Inherent Vice. Maybe just watch all of P.T. Anderson's movies because it's absolutely worth it.
We couldn't recommend that enough. So.
Magnolia is my favorite movie. In
the meantime, if you have any thoughts about this episode, A Christmas Story, please let us know. Comment on the episode on our canwestillbefriends.net website, and hit us up on Facebook, Twitter. Give us a phone call. I do want to just really quick run down that number for you in case you forget. The number to give us a call is 847-306-9532. That's 847-306-9532. Let us know about Christmas Story, or maybe even weigh in with some of your other holiday film favorite scenes, whatever.
Or if you're a psychologist or a psychology student, and you can give me some insight into what's going on
why
with me.
You don't like Christmas Story. Yeah.
Well, I don't need them to explain why I don't like Christmas Story. I know why I don't like Christmas Story.
The problems lie much deeper.
Yes.
That's really, that is the first step, is just admitting that there are problems. And that the fact that you don't like A Christmas Story is a problem.
No, that's not what I'm admitting. I'm not admitting that.
Anyways, thanks so much for listening to our episode. We'll catch you next year when we talk about Punch Drunk Love.
Yeah.
And we hope you have a great holiday in the meantime.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Thanks. Bye.